Today, Port Stephens, north of Sydney, in fact, north of Newcastle, they've got an offshore wind farm project which is on its way. And many locals, including plenty who I wouldn't imagine have voted Liberal ever in their life, hate the idea of this stuff changing what is a beautiful part of Australia. Guess who is building the wind farms? Current government. Guess who won't if they become the government?
If there is a change of government at the next election, then we can give an assurance to this local community that this project will not proceed. The Prime Minister's every decision is about how he can try and stop the hemorrhaging of votes from the Labor Party to the Greens. We've looked at the area, the zone where these wind turbines were projected to go 260 metres above the water. This is going to be a scar on the landscape.
Correct. This concept of to save the atmosphere we must destroy the earth, common sense people know that that's not the answer. And even if Labor, the Greens get everything they want when it comes to renewable energy projects, Australia is 1% of the climate problem. Places like China can continue to exponentially pollute until 2030. And while we're going to net zero for 2050, they're not doing it till 2060. They pollute 33 times more than we do because, of course, they have a population of 1 billion people. And they deliberately keep some of their people in poverty, some of their people working slave labour to build the very solar panels that we end up buying and installing in this country in order to be able to turn around and call themselves a developing nation. But we know China's not a developing nation. They literally invented islands in the South China Sea. They've got an international space station. They held 2 Olympic Games so far in the 21st century. The idea that they're a developing nation is, of course, garbage. But Australia, under this government and under the green tinges that exist in the more comfortable parts of the country, they say we must do this. But, of course, if you try to put a single wind turbine or a single solar panel in the local doggy park of a teal or a green seat, their heads will explode. So what do? They say all of this must be built with 4/5 of bugger all ability to argue against it. Literally, they changed the law in Victoria to reduce the rights of local communities to be able to push back on these developments. And these people have had enough.
It just seems like an act of environmental vandalism.
Protect our climate, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're not destroying and damaging nature.
We won't rest until some level of common sense prevails.
This is a community that don't believe that this is the right place to put a wind farm. Absolutely support renewables, but they shouldn't be at the expense of small communities.
Take them somewhere else. Take them down the west coast of Tassie or somewhere. You get miles and miles of land there, windswept, nice and flat. They can put thousands of them there.
You see, this in part has always been the problem about the transition to renewable energy, which is it'll poll really well to say, yes, we must do it. Are you willing to pay for it? No. Do you want it built near you? Hell no. Which is why the opposition's position of saying, OK, nuclear, yes, it'll cost a lot of money and yes, it'll cost a lot of time to get it up and running, but we've got coal and gas to get us to that point. It's not going to have the same impacts on the land in terms of the literal number of sites that that's the policy of the opposition. And poll after poll after poll after poll after poll after poll after poll is now saying that the majority of Australians are open to the idea of it. I think the way to sell it is to turn around and say that in any local government area where one of these things goes, 100% free power for life. All right? And you watch it. I've been to many, dozens and dozens and dozens of regional communities around Australia. They would put their hand up for it, put both hands up, as opposed to the very same regional communities who are just being told, sorry, the farming doesn't matter anymore. This is just a great place to plonk the stuff that creates the energy that has to go back to the city. Oh, yeah, but if you want any of it, like Broken Hill, no. You can sit in the dark for 10 days because our warm feelings more important than your fridge staying on.